Welcome to this RTS webinar. My name is Paul Moulton from Isle of Man Television, and this is an event that's been put on by RTS Isle of Man, one of the smallest regions, but with so much going on here on our beautiful island, and we'll tell you a bit more about that as we go on. But the subject matter tonight is the changing face of live sports production. And of course, many people know the Isle of Man for its TT races, but we have so many sporting activities. The guys called at Greenlight Television are based here, but run an operation all around the world. And that's what we're going to find out about over the next 20 minutes or so. So let me introduce you to the guys behind Greenlight TV. First of all, let's go to Rob Hurdman, one of the directors. And Rob, you're in the studios there. Great background. Looks like you've got motorbikes actually behind you. That's crazy.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's a background for one of our weekly shows. In fact, it's a background that we took to Sportel a few years ago, and we liked it so much we took it down from our and popped it up in the office.
Well, that's great. And the other director joining us is Dave Beynon, who's actually out on location doing an outside broadcast, which I'll explain a bit more, or we can a bit later on. But David, hello to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, Paul. Yes, it was very pleasant speaking to you earlier on.
So you guys have such an interesting story to tell about how you're coping with things here at the moment. But I thought a good place to start will be with your showreel in just a second, though. But if you have any questions, broadcast, please let us know. You can use the special item on this webinar to send those questions in if you're watching it live. But let's start with the latest showreel from Greenlight Television, shows you what they do. Very impressive. That's what would normally be happening. In fact, I think we should start by saying, how was 2020 for you? The world changed, but did you survive it? What went on? Rob, do you want to start?
A proper roller coaster year, really, I think. We went from probably the depths of despair. I remember me and Dave being in the meeting room, having a little cry one morning after the first lockdown, and thinking that everything that we worked for in the past 25 years was going to fall through the floor, and you know, we were going to have to lose our staff and everything, to a huge stroke of luck by doing our first remote production, which we did literally the week before lockdown, and in the end, coming out of the year, that was, you know, incredibly difficult year, and we're still going through those difficulties, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you know, we're starting to feel a bit more optimistic.
And Dave, I mean, here in the Isle of Man, the TT's been such a part of your DNA, really, isn't it? And to have that been cancelled 2 years on the trot, that must be a nightmare.
It is, but I mean, I think obviously you've got to bear in mind it is being cancelled for the reason it's being cancelled, and they're very strong public health reasons for not doing it. It's obviously disappointing for us, for the fans, for the riders, for everybody, but I think everybody understands it had to happen. From a business perspective, you know, it's a huge part of our year, and it's our home event. It's the one event out of all the amazing events we do, it's the one that everybody holds to the highest because it's home, and it's what we've all grown up with. So very disappointing. I think looking forwards, it all looks very exciting, and I think everybody wants it to come back bigger and better than ever. So hopefully 2022 will be all guns blazing.
Well, one of the big reasons for doing this program tonight is that you've been pioneering really this new latest technology. It's quite incredible. Live remote outside broadcasting. Explain.
Well, I'll perhaps give you the background, and Dave can give you the technical side of it because he's much better at that. We opened an office in the USA in 2015 because we've been working out in the States for a while, and we've won a couple of quite big contracts. So we thought it was time to open an office. We did that in 2015, and we pitched for a championship at the beginning of 2020. And the championship that we were pitching for didn't really have a full budget to do things in a traditional sort of way. So we got our heads around the table and thought about trialing remote production. What we didn't think about was trying a remote production from the Isle of Man. We thought we'd be doing it in our Tampa office, and we did our first event in February 2020, which was from our Tampa office to a racetrack in Sebring, which is about 2 hours down the road. So it was bonded cellular technology, cameramen at the circuit. We were learning as we went along. Our engineer, who was supposed to come from the Isle of Man, lost his passport, so he couldn't come. So Dave went from being a director to the senior engineer as well overnight, and he did have quite a lot of hair when we did that, but obviously he lost that over the course of that weekend. He managed to get everything up and running, and we did this sort of crazy thing with live onboard cameras, a live drone from 2 hours down the road without any cables or anything like that. And we thought, wow, that's pretty crazy. We left a load of kit in the States and all flew back home to the Isle of Man. And just as we were sort of getting back to the Isle of Man, the coronavirus thing was sort of starting to happen. And then we were due to go back for a race 2 or 3 weeks after that to work with our American crew, and we couldn't go. So that was the point when we had our little cry. And then we sort of got our heads together with the help of our engineer based on the Isle of Man, Gaztech, came up with this solution to do the remote productions from the States here in the Isle of Man.
And so, Dave, you can take us through the technical side of this. I mean, this sounds obviously you're relying on very fast speed connections for this, aren't you?
Yeah, and I think Rob alluded before to the fact that we're also trying to do it to a budget. The championship we were covering didn't have traditional budgets, and a lot of remote production previously was done for football, for example, where they'd have fibre connections into football stadium. So they've got a guaranteed connectivity between the studio and the venue. But we need to do it without infrastructure like that being put in place because it just costs far too much money. So we looked around and we trialled initially some live view units which work on bonded cellular technology. So they have 8 SIM cards in each unit. And effectively, they combine, they find the best signal. So you might have 2 from Sprint, 2 from Verizon, 2 from AT&T, and 2 from T-Mobile in the States. So wherever they are, you're going to find the best signal from all the masts in that area, whatever the provider is. And they basically combine together to give you a data pipe. And that then, through that, you send the pictures back to the Isle of Man. And the Isle of Man, there's a decoder at the other end, which decodes the signal and gives you an SDI, a traditional SDI signal. So initially, as Rob said, you know, we did it 200 miles up the road, and it worked very well. There was a bit of latency there, but it was only a couple of seconds. But when we were looking at doing it from the Isle of Man, of course, we had no real idea until we tested what the latency would be. And we thought, well, 2 seconds, we're in the same state in the States. It's going to be at least 6-7 seconds back to the Isle of Man. But actually, when we tested it, it was remarkable. It was the same latency, within milliseconds. And that was the point where we realized it's very, very achievable and very doable. The way it works also is that each of the up to four transmitters are assigned to each decoder, and they are synced together, so they are frame accurate. So that latency between those four cameras is synced all the way across. Between different decoders, it's plus or minus one frame. So unless you're cutting two cameras on the same face talking, where you might get a jump of a frame, where you're working around a racetrack, that one frame interval makes no real difference. So that was getting the pictures back to the island. We were very lucky. We had some help from the government and the bank, and we put together the actual gallery facility in the office in Tremode. And then we also had to work out how we're going to get the commentary on the signal. So the pictures come in, we cut together a live feed. We had the graphics, which are live timing graphics. And then we have to send the signal back to the commentators in the States. And we looked at various ways of doing that and trying to do it in a cost-effective way. And at the time, SRT was just really starting to get a foothold. And we now send back an SRT stream of our cut pictures to the commentators at the racetrack. They see that, commentate over the top of it, and their audio comes back to us again via SRT. And so within about 3 seconds, the live pictures on the track are going out of the door and being streamed worldwide.
It sounds so simple. I tell you what, we've got a video to show which might also explain a little bit more and show the razzmatazz behind the scenes. This is what it looks like.
Underway.
The traditional way of producing a live outside broadcast event was for an OB truck and a number of production staff to arrive on location, often a number of days before the event actually started, lay cables, connect the cameras to the truck and test. Then, on the days of the event, the full production crew would be on site for the whole duration.
Remote production significantly reduces the on-site crew. There are no cables to lay, no truck to cable, just self-contained camera operators with small backpacks containing full state-of-the-art bonded cellular technology, providing a broadcast signal up to 4K, as well as full production talkback to the remote studio where graphics, music can be added.
OB trucks are expensive to keep on the road. Crew are expensive to keep on event. Remote production reduces those costs significantly, saving hotel, catering and travel day costs, whether it's a 20-camera shoot for a full weekend or a single camera shoot for a day. And all of this is without compromising quality.
Our remote production facilities enable us to have any kind of production anywhere, anytime. From full multi-camera production with live cameras, drone and onboard cameras to a single camera feed, remote production gives you ultimate flexibility.
Reducing crew on site significantly reduces the carbon footprint of the event, enables crew to spend more time at home and sleep in their own beds, while all the time reducing costs.
Greenlight Television is an independent production company formed in 1995, specialising in sport and event coverage. We've produced content all over the globe for some of the world's major broadcasters, including the BBC, ITV, CBS, ESPN, Fox, Al Jazeera and many more.
You can see some of our work here. Greenlight. We love what we do.
So there you go, technology being pushed hard. And I know you guys over the years have had much technology. It's just incredible. This is the beginning of something almost, I feel. It can only get faster, bigger, better.
Yeah, very much so. And I think obviously there's lots of exciting developments with 5G technology, which could make everything a lot smaller, a lot faster, enable you to have a lot more cameras in a single area. So that side of it's really exciting, and we're learning all the time. You know, it is very new. We are pushing the boundaries a little bit. It is different as well. You know, it's not like being at a racetrack when you are 2,000, 3,000 miles away from the venue. You're very much in the dark. You know, you don't actually know what's going on at the circuit. All you rely on is feedback from the people there. Normally at a racetrack, you can hear when one session's on track outside, you know, you're filming the next one and you're ready to go. But of course, you're 2,000 miles away, you've no idea until somebody tells you. And just in actual, the fact that there is a bit of latency there, obviously, if you're directing the cameras, you have to very much think or try and think in advance and ask them before they're shot what you're looking for from them. So that takes a little bit of getting your head around.
And Rob, in that video, his cost was a big thing there for you. It's saving money, but less resources, but still the same sort of end finish to the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it massively saves money. I mean, you know, just having the crew on site, if you just think you've just got to feed them, accommodation, travel, even travel days, it takes a lot of the cost away. It's also, you know, less hard on the kit, which saves, if you're not damaging kit, that saves you money as well. So whether we'll ever go back to the traditional way of doing OBs, I really can't see it. I think we'll keep improving the technology that we're using at the moment. And as Dave was saying, as 5G comes on stream, that will revolutionize it again. And even in the time that we've been doing it, obviously we've been working on a limited budget, but we've introduced a replay system. We're actually even playing replays back to race control at circuits in America so that they can look at them from a safety point of view, separate to what we're doing for the live feed. So, and that's all that's just come on, you know, in the last couple of months. So I think there are always ways to improve, and certainly the technology is improving all the while.
So this is the new normal then, do you think?
If it is the new normal, I mean, it's been very strange for me and Dave, because we've both spent the last 30 years of our lives living on airplanes. We live and based on the Isle of Man, but you know, living on the Isle of Man, the one drawback is it probably means that we spend more nights away from home, because you get back into Heathrow or Gatwick and it never connects with the Isle of Man. So we were constantly on the road, especially during the summertime. And I've just had my first year in 30 odd years here on the Isle of Man, and you know, it's just a shame my kids have all grown up, but the wife's still putting up with me. But yeah, I mean, I can't see myself ever getting my BA Gold card back, that's for sure.
I was going to get to that. You told me the other day it's playing havoc with your air miles.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's not a bad thing, I don't think, in this day and age. So yeah, I mean, I think it has changed. You know, even just the American productions, it's amazing, really. I mean, we did one a couple of weeks ago from Sebring. Because it was East Coast American time, it's 5 hours difference. So we were arriving at work at lunchtime. We had quite a late night on the Saturday night. It's probably about midnight, 11:30, midnight, but on the Sunday, we started work at lunchtime. I started work a bit earlier on the Sunday, but we were finished by 8:30 in the evening, back home, having dinner at home. Well, on that night, actually, I could go to the pub because we weren't in lockdown. So I went for a beer, had a curry with the wife, and was back home for 10:30. So yeah, it's, you know, it is revolutionary, really.
Well, you mentioned the Sebring Cup. Let's have a look. This is just an example of the work you managed to do in 2021.
Away we go! A beautiful roar of sound. Rafa Matos in the all-yellow 88 on the left-hand side will try and vie for the lead. And Mike Skeen's going to try to follow him through. Goikhberg on the inside in the 10 takes second place, but he's now vying for the lead. Goikhberg on the 10 comes wide. Oh, look at this racing! In comes Scott Legacy. Oh no!
Thomas Merrill.
Big turnaround.
Thomas
Merrill
Merrill
gets turned around. Here we go. Got to get out of 13, very importantly. Through 12 now. Here's Tower, 13. A high, wide line for 16. Over under. And here comes Merrill. Oh, my word, what a great move. And here comes Skeen. Rafa Matos goes to second, tries to defend, but Skeens ready to go for it. Self just behind in fourth. Merrill leads the race. They're neck and neck. Back goes Merrill. Has Rafa blown it. Skeens coming, but Merrill's going to take the win. Oh, what a finish to the first race of the year. Thomas Merrill with the win for the HP Tuners Mike Cope Race Cars Team Ford Mustang.
So excited for my buddy Thomas Merrill. How in the world did you do it?
Well, I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. Without this Cope chassis and without these Willwood brakes, I would not have done it. I couldn't believe what happened at the start of the race, especially the first corner of a long season.
Wow. Dave, just one more time. The pictures go from the States, then they arrive in the Isle of Man. You do the mixing. You then have to send them back to the commentators over there. They add on their soundtrack. It comes back to you again. Am I getting there? Is that roughly what's happening?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And then the other element that we're adding in the island is live timing graphics. So effectively timing and scoring at the track in the States, publish their database over on a cloud location, and we can access straight into that and get real-time timing data, and then that's put into graphics and laid over the screen.
Now, because this is all new technology, there's going to be hiccups, aren't there? I mean, if things go down, it must be a terrible downtime. You know, you're so remote, it's not like you can go out there and just check a cable or something.
Yeah, no, but I mean, touch wood, we've not really had any big issues at all. We've not lost a transmitter. We've not. We've had, well, we'll just touch wood at that point. Yeah, we've not had any major issues at all. And although, you know, we're not there with the kit at the circuit, obviously we've got people who are there. You know, we've got the camera operators, we've got an engineer out there on site. So there's plenty of people who can react on site to any issues we have. And back on the island, we do have access to a lot of data. All the links that we use, they're all managed through a cloud-based system. So we can access the settings on the transmitters from the island. We also have an engineer who is midpoint in Nova Scotia, who's very experienced with the transmitters we're using now, which is, as you probably saw in the promo, a company called Mobile Viewpoint. He can also access and tweak settings there. So yeah, no, it's pretty touchy. It's been really good so far. We've not had any big issues.
And for new business out there, what could you be seeing potential use of this gear for?
Just going back on what Dave was saying about the technology. Before I get into the new business side of things, it's also about some very special people as well. We've had, you know, our great team. We've adapted really well. We have Lauren, who runs our American office, who has done incredible things where that's not really her bag, technology, but she's worked to you know, to get this up and running. And Ash, who runs our Isle of Man office, you know, they've done incredible flexibility to get all of this stuff going. Regarding new business, I generally think the sky's the limit. One of our big weaknesses in business is we were very much built around the summertime, spring and summer, because obviously it's sport that we're doing, which all tends to be outside at that time of year. I generally think now with the remote production, we can go anywhere, anything that needs a live production. And I think what gives us our USP is we can be very, very, very competitive price-wise, and that, you know, that is so important, and it's going to be even more important, I think, going forward, because after the pandemic and everybody's trying to get back to normal, money is going to be tight.
And you touched on the 4 and 5G issue there. I mean, 5G is meant to be the holy grail, isn't it? I mean, speed-wise, it's really going to up the ante, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, data transmission compared to 4G is pretty much off the scale. So obviously it just depends on rollout and how quickly that gets rolled out and how quickly that translates. I mean, some of the transmitters that we're using now are 5G ready. So we can slot new cards in and put 5G cards in there now. But obviously at the moment, it's mainly you've got coverage in big cities, and generally where we're covering our races at the moment, not what we might do in the future, but at the moment, they generally in more rural locations. So obviously 5G hasn't really got that far out yet. But yeah, no, and I mean, particularly for sort of onboard cameras or effects cameras, you know, not just limited to sport, but it might be music. If you've got a small area, at the moment, the transmitters are fairly large. But once we get to 5G and we can be transmitting over a single SIM, then obviously that means we can be a lot more flexible in where we can put transmitters.
Well, I said at the beginning, we've taken some Q&As on this, and a question's come in, actually, David, for you. It's, what are you doing? Where are you? It looks like you're in a press conference. We know in the Isle of Man what you're doing, but maybe you'd like to explain for the wider audience where you are.
Yeah, so when we on the island went into our initial lockdown way back in March last year, the government approached us because they wanted to go to virtual press conferences, as opposed to, at the time, was a weekly in-person one. So we came down to the government office, the cabinet office, and 24 hours later we did the first broadcast from cabinet office, and we've been doing that for the past year now, which is obviously it's not been a great subject to cover by any stretch of the imagination, but it's great to be in, you know, a little small, very, very small part of it, and to what's been a tremendous response on the Isle of Man. Going into a little bit of a lockdown at the moment, but hopefully that won't be too long.
Yeah, but I should explain that. With the Isle of Man, many people have been seeing so many pictures over the last 3 or 4 weeks about us being completely out of any situation. We were living life completely normally, and now, literally a couple of days ago, we're back into lockdown. Which leads me on to think, how will that affect when you're doing the remotes? Do you have to then socially distance in your control room and all that sort of thing, and other precautions?
Yeah, no, we will have to. I mean, we can be quite flexible because all of the equipment is effectively run over the internet. We can put people into different rooms, whereas normally we'd probably get, last time we had 6 people in the main control room, you know, we can probably get that down to 3, and just remote people into different rooms. So it's very achievable. You know, if we had to, we could do it from different buildings. So we will have to change the way we work, but it's very, very achievable.
Right, got a question in from Andy McLean. You might know him. He says, "Hi, Dave and Rob. Great to see you guys. This is normally the time of year we are meeting at a pre-event meeting on what is usually a wet and windy day in a field on the north coast. We've seen great footage from the US tonight. Do you intend to deploy this in the UK soon? If so, do you think that the 3G and 4G cellular networks will support the capacity needed along with the crowds that you're expecting to be there? We all know what cellular networks can be like here with the challenges of large events."
Yeah, well, if I can just dive in there. Hello, Andy. Be lovely to see you again in the flesh on the north coast. We actually did use some of the these transmitters for the Northwest 200 2 years ago and 3 years ago, and actually worked really well, despite there being a crowd of between 40 and 80,000, whoever you believe, people there. They held up throughout the day, and we had 6 remote cameras. We had the main stretch of cameras, which is about 9 cameras that were all linked to the OB truck, but then we had a further 6 remote cameras and pictures from the helicopter coming via these bonded cellular transmitters, and they held up all day long despite the number of people that were there. And certainly we've also trialled them at the TT to a limited extent. So we had a ground camera about a third of the way around the course at Glen Helen, and again one in the helicopter, and that held up on for the whole day. You know, basically there seemed to be, once they get a signal, they just will not let go of it. And even, Paul, you'll know the location of Glen Helen. It's in a valley, it's tree lined. You know, I find if I'm there on a winter's day, you can't get a phone signal when there's nobody there. Yet we found with TT, these transmitters, they seem to grab the signal and prioritize it in some way.
Rob, anything to add?
No, I mean, as Dave said, you know, we've tried it in numerous places that we were all very skeptical about, and it's amazed us every time. The technology has amazed us every time, and as I say, with 5G coming, it should only improve.
Okay, a question here. It says, "Hi, Manxie." So that's someone who knows you, David, because that's what we all call you, Manxie. Many happy memories of going around the Isle of Man collecting videotapes for the TT. That was crazy. Is that now coming to an end?
We hope so.
Yeah, we hope so. I mean, obviously, I think everybody would love to see live coverage of the TT, and nobody more so than us. It is, by its nature, duration, it's a 2-week event, and also the geographic spread of the course, it's not easy, and that means it's not a cheap thing to do. But the way this technology works, it's making it more achievable than ever before at a realistic cost. So that's certainly what we're pushing for. And at that point, yeah, we won't have to go and collect tapes from anybody. Well, cards now, obviously, not tapes. So yeah, we'd like to think that maybe 2022, 2023, who knows, we may be able to get some live coverage. And
for people who don't know, the Isle of Man 21 3/4 miles, isn't it? It's a long distance to go around collecting tapes.
37 3/4, yeah.
Yes. See, sports guys. More of an observation from Brian. I'm intrigued, how will this be incorporated into your future productions? You may have already answered that, really, but anything more you want to add to that from Brian? Rob?
Oh, I think we've lost Rob.
We lost Rob.
Perhaps that we wouldn't have been a live environment. We
sorry, Rob, do you want to just go back a bit? We just lost
sorry,
that.
did you get me?
Got you now.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'd just say moving forward, I think it will enable us to do a lot more events that we probably wouldn't have had the budget to do live. I mean, we do a lot of motorcycle racing that is post-produced, which obviously means that it's turned around a bit later and is quite labour-intensive in edit suites and things like that. But I think it will enable us to do certainly those events live if people want to watch them.
And Maxie, anything?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just concur totally with what Rob says. It makes live production so much more affordable, and it really opens up all sorts of events that in the past you'd never, or would be very difficult to raise the funding to cover live. It makes it all very achievable.
Okay, one more question list. I think comes through in the last second or two from Niall. Gents, how do you see artificial intelligence impacting on the role of camera operators in the longer term? What level is this technology at present? Pick that one up?
It's quite scary, really, because Mobile Viewpoints, who provide our tech, are doing quite a lot in that area at the moment, and they've been demoing some stuff to us with following certainly basketball, football, those sort of sports, and it's pretty impressive. Motorsports, I still think in some ways it's going to be a while before it gets there, because there are probably more decisions for the artificial intelligence to make as to sort of which car you go with and those sort of things. But the guys there did say that they would be able to start teaching these remote cameras to do that sort of thing. So who knows? I mean, that could be amazing to start using that technology as well.
Be sort of like putting in VR glasses eventually, won't it? We'll just be doing everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, there are some cameras you can operate almost like that now, but you still need an operator to do that. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see if you can start replacing operators. I'm not sure they'll be very happy about that.
David?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as Rob says, it's one thing following a game of football, and it's another, following a race with 40 cars, and you see a slight movement, 3 cars behind the one you're following, and you realise your gut instinct tells you go with that, and something happens. It's all doable. Obviously, we all know artificial intelligence has the potential to make every decision 100 times better than any human could. But I think it would take so much investment to cover what's a relatively limited market. Whether that investment will be put in, I don't know. But technology in a whole, it's just going to open up more possibilities. I mean, the way Mobile Viewpoint system works is on sort of a camera array. But if you think about an onboard camera nowadays, we're very much, we have a perspective which is looking forwards, looking back at the driver, underneath the exhaust, suspension, whatever. But it's one view. Well, if you think of the 360 camera, as 5G enables much greater bandwidth to be transmitted, we could have a virtual camera, a 360 camera in the car, and we could pan around. So at the moment, there's not quite the quality there to take a one frame for a TV signal and then move it around. But once the cameras are improved and the bandwidth improves, we'll be able to do that. So as a car's overtaking, we'll just be able to pan the view around from that one camera.
And will that add more to your production, or will you be replacing the cameramen though?
Oh, no. I can't see that for a good while yet.
Right. Well, I think we're almost at the end of our time. I think we've done really well there. David, you need to put your mask back on and get out of there. And before we go, just to remind everyone, this is Isle of Man, RTS Isle of Man, a very, very small part of the whole group. And we're very young and we're looking for more support. If you want to become a member, you'll find all the details on the RTS site. We are planning, I'll give it away to you. We've got a pretty famous actor that lives on the Isle of Man. He spends a lot of his time here, John Rhys-Davies, and we're hoping for a night with him to talk about his television exploits and maybe touch on films as well, but mostly television. So if you want to become a member, and it'd be great to have you on board, please look out for the details on the site. My thank you to Dave Beynon, Dave, aka Manxie, and also to Rob. Do we have your nickname, Rob? Should we go with it? I'm not sure.
Oh, they're too rude to mention, I'm afraid, Paul.
Okay, and if anyone from British Airways is listening, please be kind to him for his upgrades when they come back. My thanks to Ash, who's been doing the technicals on this and has made everything happen. And for you for watching, thanks so much. And we'll join you again sometime soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you.
Paul. Cheers.